The silence on the bridge of the UES Valiant was heavy. It was not a peaceful silence. It was the kind of silence that comes right before a loud crash. The only sound was the low, steady hum of the fusion engines. Commander Jun-ho Park stood like a statue in front of the big window. He looked out into the dark space. Outside the window, the stars were bright. But Jun-ho did not look at the stars. He looked at the massive alien ships dropping out of light speed. They were called the Vexian Coalition. For 3 long years, these aliens were Earth's friends. Together, they fought against the Swarm. The Swarm was a horrible group of monsters that ate everything in their path. To stop the Swarm, the humans did the fighting. Humans died in the mud and the cold of space. The Vexians gave advice and technology. They sat in their safe, shiny ships and watched. Now, the war was over. The Swarm was running away. Jun-ho looked at the enemy flagship. It was beautiful, made of silver and blue light. It was huge, much bigger than his ship. It floated directly in front of the human fleet. The distance between the two fleets was closing fast. "Report," Jun-ho said. His voice was calm, but inside he felt a cold anger. Lieutenant Sue Kim sat at her desk. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. She looked nervous. Her face was pale in the blue light of the screens. "Sir, the Vexian flagship is hailing us," Sue said. "It is High Consul Xylos. He says he wants to talk about the peace treaty." Jun-ho nodded slowly. He fixed the collar of his uniform. It was old and worn, unlike the shiny clothes of the aliens. "Put him on the main screen." The big screen in the middle of the bridge flickered. Then, the face of High Consul Xylos appeared. He looked tall, with blue skin and large, dark eyes. He wore robes that looked like flowing water. He did not look like a warrior. He looked like a politician. "Greetings, Commander Park," Xylos said. His voice was smooth and slippery. "The Swarm is defeated. The galaxy is safe now." Jun-ho did not smile. "We lost many good people to make it safe, Consul." Yes, Xylos said, waving his hand as if he did not care. "Your species is very eager. That is the problem. We have been talking in the coalition. We decided that humans are too aggressive. You are dangerous. You fight too hard. It is not good for the peace of the galaxy." Jun-ho narrowed his eyes. He knew where this was going. "What are you saying, Consul?" "I am saying that your time as a military power is over," Xylos said. His voice became hard. "To keep the galaxy safe, you must give us your ships. You must go back to Earth and stay there. You will not leave your solar system again. If you do not surrender your fleet now, we will destroy you." The bridge went quiet. Every crew member heard the threat. They had just finished a war. They had bled for these aliens. Now, the aliens wanted to put them in a cage. Jun-ho looked at Xylos. The alien looked arrogant. He thought he was better than a human. He thought humans were just smart animals who needed a leash. Jun-ho looked at the tactical map. The Vexians had turned off their main shields. They truly believed that the humans were too tired to fight. They thought the humans would be sad and scared. "You are making a mistake, Consul," Jun-ho said softly. "I do not think so," Xylos sneered. "Look at you. You have one small fleet. I have thousands of ships behind me. You are outmatched. You are alone. Be a good primitive species and surrender." The screen went black. Jun-ho turned around. He looked at his crew. They were young, but their eyes were hard. They were not scared. They were angry. "Sir," Sue asked, her voice shaking a little. "What do we do? They have the codes to our weapons. They sold us the technology. They can shut us down remotely." Junho smiled. It was a small, cold smile. "They sold us the technology. But they did not understand how we think. We never trusted them." "Lieutenant, is the virus ready?" Sue's eyes widened. "Yes, sir. The engineering team finished it last night." "Upload it," Junho ordered. "Cut their connection to our systems. Lock them out." Sue typed fast. "Done. They cannot control our ships anymore." Junho walked to the front of the bridge. He looked out at the alien armada. They were closing in, thinking they were about to collect a pet. "Humans have a saying," Junho said to the room. "If you want peace, prepare for war." He touched his earpiece. He opened a secret channel. A channel that did not go through the Vexian network. "This is Commander Park," he said. "Code is Red Dawn. Execute Plan Alpha." On the screen, the Vexian ships were moving into attack formation. They were slow. They were lazy. They thought this was easy work. "Sir," Sue said. "The Vexians are charging their main weapons. They are going to fire in 10 seconds. "Let them wait," Junho said. "Commander," a voice came through the secret channel. It was Commander Taewon Lee. His voice sounded like steel. "We are in position. The ghosts are awake." "Good hunting, Taewon," Junho replied. He looked at Sue. "Lieutenant, scan the area behind the moon of Mars. Do you see anything?" Sue frowned. She moved the sensors. "Scanning, wait." "Sir, my sensors are going crazy. There is a massive energy spike. It is huge." "Show it on the screen," Junho said. The screen changed. It showed a view of the red planet, Mars. It looked normal. But then, space next to the moon began to rip apart. It was not a normal ship jump. A normal jump was smooth and blue. This was violent. It was like someone tearing a piece of black paper. Purple lightning flashed in the dark void of space. "What is that?" Sue whispered. From the giant tear in space, a ship came out. It was not sleek like the alien ships. It was blocky, ugly, and massive. It was painted a dark gray with bright orange stripes. It looked like a fortress, not a ship. Then another came out. And another. Dozens of them. These were the reserve fleet. The world did not know about them. The Vexians did not know about them. For 3 years, while the humans were fighting in the front lines, thousands of engineers and workers had been hiding. They used the resources from the asteroid belt. They built these ships in secret, inside the hollowed-out caves of Mars and the deep dark of the asteroid belt. The ships were ugly, but they were big. And they were covered in guns. Massive rail guns, missile launchers, and laser batteries. "Sir," Sue gasped. Those are dreadnoughts." "We have dreadnoughts. We have a whole fleet of them," Junho said. On the bridge of the alien flagship, Xylos was laughing. He was ready to give the order to fire. He wanted to destroy the human flagship and end this quickly. He looked at his tactical officer. "Why is the human ship not moving?" Xylos asked. "Fire the warning shot." The tactical officer touched a button. But nothing happened. He tried again. Sir, the weapons systems are not responding. What? Xylos stood up. Fix it? I cannot, sir. The computer system, it is locked. There is a message on the screen. Read it. It says, humanity accepts no masters. Xylos felt a sudden chill. He looked out the window. He saw the UES Valiant turn. It was not turning to run away. It was turning to fight. And then, his sensors screamed. Contact! The tactical officer shouted. Massive signatures behind Mars. Multiple contacts. They are huge. Xylos watched in horror as the dark, ugly ships poured out of the tier in space. There were so many of them. They dwarfed his own fleet. Who are they? Xylos whispered. There were never any records of these ships. Back on the Valiant, Junho watched the enemy confusion. The Vexian ships were drifting. They were not firing. They were trying to figure out what was happening. They are surprised, Junho said. Good. He looked at the main screen. The lead ship of the reserve fleet, the UES Harbinger, was moving into the center. It was the biggest ship humanity had ever built. It looked like a hammer ready to smash a glass cup. Junho opened a channel to all human ships. This is Commander Park. Today, we do not fight for the coalition. Today, we do not fight for the Vexians. Today, we fight for us. Show them the price of betrayal. The crew on the bridge cheered. It was a low, fierce sound. Target the Vexian flagship, Junho ordered. Do not destroy it yet. Disable their engines. I want Xylos to watch. Targeting locked, Sue said. She sounded happy now. The Vexians were finally waking up. They tried to raise their shields. But the virus that Sue uploaded was slowing them down. They were clumsy. The UES Valiant fired. It was not the small plasma guns the Vexians expected. It was a heavy railgun slug. It moved at 10 times the speed of sound. It slammed into the side of the Vexian flagship. The metal of the alien ship crumpled like paper. The shields shattered. The ship spun in the water of space. On the bridge of the Valiant, Junho watched the damage. Now, Junho said. Let the real fleet introduce themselves. He watched the massive, dark ships from Mars move forward. The Vexian forces were strong, but they were not ready for this. They were not ready for the monsters that humans had become in the dark. The betrayal was over. The reply had begun. The silence that filled the bridge of the Vexian flagship was different from before. It was a terrified silence. High Consul Xylos stood gripping the railing of his command deck. His knuckles were white. The beautiful blue lights of the bridge flickered as the ship groaned under the stress of the impact. Report! Xylos screamed. His voice, usually so smooth and arrogant, was now shrill. Why did our shields fail? Who hit us? The tactical officer, a tall, thin alien named Krill, was frantically typing on his console. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely press the buttons. Sir, our shields are at 20%. The main engine is offline. The hit, it was a kinetic slug. A solid piece of metal moving at incredible speed. They bypassed our energy shields completely. Xylos looked at the main view screen. The human ship, the UES Valiant, was still there. It looked small compared to his ship, but it was not running. It was turning slowly, bringing its guns to bear. Destroy them! Xylos yelled. Fire all plasma batteries. Blow that primitive ship out of the sky. Sir, The targeting system is not responding, the weapons officer said. I try to lock on, but the computer keeps resetting. It is the virus they uploaded. It is inside our mainframe. Then aim manually. Xylos roared. Use your eyes. But before they could aim, the space behind the moon of Mars tore open again. The jagged, violet wound in reality bled energy. From that dark hole, more ships poured out. These were not the sleek, silver ships of the Vexians. They were massive, blocky beasts of metal. They were painted a dark, non-reflective black with bright orange stripes running along their hulls. Commander Taewong Lee sat in the captain's chair on the bridge of the UES Harbinger. The Harbinger was the largest ship in the hidden armada. It was a city of steel and guns. Taewong was a calm man. He did not shout. He did not panic. He just watched the data flow across his screens. Status report, Taewong said quietly. All systems operational, Commander, Lieutenant Ji Ian said. She sat at the tactical station. She was young, but her eyes were cold. The Vexians are in disarray. Their formation is broken. They are drifting. Good, Taewong said. They relied on their network. They relied on their superior computers. Now they are blind. He looked at the image of the Vexian fleet. There were hundreds of them. Usually, they moved like a school of fish, perfectly in sync. Now, they were scattered. They were trying to understand what was happening. They had thought the human fleet was just a few damaged frigates. They were not prepared for a wall of dreadnoughts. Commander Park is buying us time with his distraction, Taewong noted. Let us not waste it. Target the Vexian cruisers on the left flank. Use the mass drivers. Aye, sir, Ji Ian said. Guns locked. On the Harbinger, the massive weapons systems began to hum. The ship did not use elegant plasma beams. It used brute force. The mass drivers were long magnetic rails that accelerated heavy metal slugs to a fraction of the speed of light. Firing, Ji Ian announced. The Harbinger shuddered slightly as the rounds left the ship. In the vacuum of space, there was no sound. But the visual was terrifying. Bright flashes erupted from the orange-striped hull of the human ship. A split second later, 3 Vexian cruisers simply exploded. There was no drama. No fireballs burning slowly. The slugs hit the ships with so much energy that the ships just disintegrated. The metal turned to dust. The crews died instantly. One moment the cruisers were there, the next moment they were just expanding clouds of debris. On the bridge of the Vexian flagship, Xylos watched the destruction. He fell back into his chair. His mouth was open, but no sound came out. What are those weapons?" he whispered. "That is impossible. No ship can fire that fast without recharging." "Sir!" Krill shouted. "We are detecting high energy readings from all the new ships. They are all charging their weapons. There are so many of them. The sensors read over 500 capital ships. Where did they come from?" "They are ghosts," Xylos said, his voice trembling. "They must be ghosts." Back on the UES Valiant, Junho watched the tactical map. It was beautiful to watch. The red dots, representing the Vexians, were shrinking. The blue dots, representing the human fleet, were swarming them. "Sir," Sui said. "The Harbinger and the reserve fleet have engaged. The Vexian left flank is gone. They are trying to retreat. They will not run so easily," Junho said. "Send the order to the interceptor wings." Launch the Wasp fighters. I want to harass their engines. Wasp squadron launching, the tactical officer replied. Small, fast ships flew out from the human carriers. These were new designs. The Vexians had never seen them. The human fighters used old technology during the war, slow and clumsy. These new ships were fast, sharp, and maneuverable. They danced around the big Vexian ships, dodging the clumsy return fire. Taewong watched from the Harbinger. They are panicking, he said to Ji-Ian. Look at their movement. They are trying to form a defensive sphere, but they are too slow. Their commanders are waiting for orders that Xylos is too scared to give. Shall we target the flagship? Commander Ji-Ian asked. Not yet, Taewong said. Junho wants to make a point. If we destroy the flagship instantly, the rest might scatter. We want them to feel trapped. We want them to surrender. He paused, looking at the sad state of the alien fleet. Target their engines. Disable them. Make them sitting ducks. Aye, sir. Firing disable shots. The Harbinger adjusted its aim. Instead of firing to destroy, the gunners aimed for the thrusters of the Vexian ships. The railguns sang again. More slugs streaked across the void. They smashed into the engine blocks of the Vexian dreadnoughts. The explosions were not fatal to the whole ship, but they were crippling. The Vexian ships stopped moving. They were dead in the water. They floated helplessly while the human fleet surrounded them. On the bridge of the Vexian flagship, the lights went out completely. The emergency red lighting turned on. It cast a eerie glow on the terrified faces of the crew. Engines are offline, the engineering officer reported over the comms. We have no propulsion. Life support is running on batteries. Xylos looked around him. The bridge crew was looking at him for orders. But he had none. He had spent his career looking down on humans. He had called them animals. He had called them stupid. He had betrayed them because he thought they were weak. Now, he was the one in the cage. The bars of the cage were made of black metal and orange stripes. Send a message, Xylos said quietly. Send it to the humans. Sir, the communications officer asked. Ask them what they want, Xylos said. He felt small. He felt like a child who had kicked a sleeping tiger and was now facing its claws. Junho received the message on the Valiant. He played it over the bridge speakers so everyone could hear. Xylos's voice sounded weak. Humans, this is High Consul Xylos. We wish to discuss terms. Why are you doing this? We were allies. This aggression is unwarranted. Junho laughed. It was a short, sharp sound. Unwarranted, Junho said. Sue, record my reply. Ready, sir. This is Commander Junho Park of the UES Valiant, Junho said, his voice clear and strong. You ask why you tried to disarm us. You tried to imprison us on our own planet because we were too aggressive. You forgot something, Xylos. You forgot that we survived for thousands of years without your technology. We survived by being smarter, faster, and tougher than anyone else. Junho looked at the screen where the image of the crippled Vexian flagship floated. You call us aggressive, you should see us when we are actually angry. This is not aggression. This is a warning. Sit there and watch. Learn your place. He cut the transmission. Taewong, Junho said over the secure channel. How are we doing? We have disabled 80% of their fleet, Taewong replied calmly. The rest are trying to run. But we prepared for that. Activate the traps, Junho said. Already done. Taewong watched the screen as several Vexian ships turned their noses toward the edge of the solar system. They ignited their emergency thrusters, trying to flee to faster than light speed. Let them run a little bit, Taewong said to Ji-eun. Wait until they charge their FTL drives. The Vexian ships sped up. They thought they might escape. They thought they could warn the rest of the coalition. They gathered energy for the jump to light speed. Now, Taewong said. Deploying gravity snares, Ji-eun said. She pressed a button. In the darkness of space, far away from the big ships, hundreds of small, invisible drones activated. These were the gravity snares. They created a powerful gravitational field, like a mini black hole. The Vexian ships were just about to jump when they hit the invisible wall. The jump drive failed. The ships were yanked back into normal space violently. The sudden stop shattered the hulls of 2 ships. The others just stopped, trapped in the invisible grip of the human machines. They are stuck, Commander, Ji-eun said with satisfaction. They cannot leave. Perfect, Taewong said. Now, we can negotiate. The alien forces had fallen apart. Their formations were broken. Their weapons were silent. Their engines were dead. They were surrounded by a massive, dangerous fleet that they did not know existed. The pride of the Vexian coalition was shattered, floating in pieces around the planet Mars. Humanity had shown its hand. It was not a hand of friendship. It was a fist of iron. And the galaxy was about to learn that you should never make an enemy of a species that builds monuments in the dark while you sleep. The battle for the Sol system was no longer a battle. It was a cleanup. The vast silence of space was broken only by the dull, rhythmic thumping of the human mass drivers. These were not the elegant, singing energy weapons the Vexians used. They were brutal hammers. With every shot, another Vexian ship was pulled into the crushing grip of the human fleet. Commander Taewong Lee sat comfortably in his chair on the bridge of the UES Harbinger. He watched the tactical map like a man playing a game of strategy. The blue dots of his fleet were encircling the red dots of the enemy. It was complete domination. Report on the enemy status, Taewong asked. He took a sip of water from his cup. His hand was steady. Lieutenant Ji-eun looked at her screens. The Vexian formation is completely shattered, Commander. They are trying to communicate with each other, but we are jamming their signals. Their ships are drifting. They have no leadership. They are like sheep without a shepherd. Good, Taewong said. Sheep are easy to manage. He looked at the main view screen. A Vexian cruiser, a ship that once looked proud and dangerous, was trying to turn its broadside to fire. But it was too slow. Before it could charge its weapons, 2 of the human frigates zoomed in. They fired precise laser strikes, cutting the cruiser's communication arrays. The ship was blind. It spun slowly in the dark, helpless. They are not fighting back effectively, Ji-eun observed. Their reactions are slow. Do they not have training for this? They have training for fighting other space fleets, Taewong explained. They do not have training for fighting us. They expected us to charge at them screaming. They expected us to be emotional and messy. But we are not. We are cold, and we are prepared. We know their tactics because we fought beside them for 3 years. We know exactly where their weak spots are. On the bridge of the UES Valiant, Junho Park was watching a different part of the battle. He saw a group of Vexian ships trying to group together. They were forming a defensive circle, trying to protect their flagship. They still have some spirit left, Junho noted. Shall we break them? Sursue asked. Her fingers were hovering over the firing controls. Not yet, Junho said. Let Commander Choi handle the psychological warfare. Deep inside the Earth's orbital command center, Admiral Jinho Choi stood before a massive wall of screens. He was the mastermind of this entire operation. He was the one who had planned for this betrayal years ago. While everyone else celebrated the peace, Jinho built the fleet in secret. He touched a panel on his desk. Open a channel to all Vexian frequencies, he ordered. Override their security protocols. I want them to hear me. Channel open, Admiral, a technician said. Jinho leaned forward. He spoke in a calm, clear voice. It was not a voice of anger, but a voice of absolute authority. Attention, Vexian forces, Jinho said. This is Admiral Jinho Choi of the United Earth Defense Force. You are currently outnumbered, outgunned, and outsmarted. Your flagship is disabled. Your fleet is trapped in our gravity snares. You cannot run. You cannot win. He paused for a moment to let the words sink in. You made a grave mistake today, Jinho continued. You thought that because we were younger than you, because we were less technologically advanced than you, that we were weak. You thought you could betray us without consequences. You looked at our ships and saw rust. You should have looked closer and seen the resolve. On the bridge of the Vexian flagship, High Consul Xylos was listening to the human's voice. It came through every speaker on the ship. It came through the personal communicators of the crew. It was everywhere. Turn it off. Xylos screamed. Block the signal. I cannot, sir. The communications officer cried. They are using a code we have never seen. It overrides everything. We still have our honor. Xylos shouted, standing up. He tried to look brave in front of his crew, though his knees were shaking. We are the Vexian coalition. We do not bow to primitives. Prepare the self-destruct sequence. The crew froze. Self-destruct that would kill everyone on the ship. The officers looked at each other. They had families. They had homes. They were bureaucrats and soldiers, not fanatics. The human's voice had been so sure. It had made them doubt everything. Consul, Krill, the tactical officer, said softly. Maybe we should listen. They have disabled our fleet without destroying us. If we surrender, they might let us live. Surrender. Xylos looked at Krill with disgust. To them never. Jinho's voice continued over the speakers, ignoring Xylos' outburst. I offer you one chance to survive. Power down your weapons completely. Lower your shields. Eject your drive cores. If you do this, we will take you as prisoners of war. If you refuse, we will dismantle your ships one by one. Do not test our patience. You have 5 minutes. Back on the UES Harbinger, Taewon watched the clock. 5 minutes starts now, he said. Ji-Ian, prepare the main lance just in case they say no. The main lance, Ji-Ian asked. But that is experimental. It is ready, Taewon said. And it is the perfect message. The main lance was a massive weapon located on the underside of the Harbinger. It was a single, focused beam of incredible power. It took a long time to charge, but it could cut through a planet's crust like a knife through butter. Across the solar system, the Vexian captains were listening to the countdown. They looked at their sensors. They saw the hundreds of human ships that had appeared from nowhere. They saw the massive Harbinger aiming its nose at them. On one Vexian destroyer, the captain looked at his crew. "Do we want to die for Xylos' pride?" he asked. "No," his crew replied. "Then power down," the captain ordered. "Power down everything." Another ship followed. Then another. And another. It started like a trickle. One by one, Vexian ships turned off their lights. Their weapons went cold. Their shields dropped. They were admitting defeat. Xylos watched in horror as his tactical map turned from red to blue. His allies were abandoning him. They were choosing life over pride. "Cowards!" Xylos roared. "Traitors! I order you to fight." "No one is listening to you, Consul," a voice said from behind him. Xylos turned around. His own security guard was standing there with a weapon raised. "We are powering down, Consul. For the sake of the crew." "You dare?" Xylos gasped. "We are dead if we don't," the guard said. "Sit down." Xylos slumped into his chair. He was defeated. Not by the human guns, but by the fear he had created in others. Junho watched the tactical map from the Valiant. "Sir, 70% of the enemy fleet has powered down. Only the flagship and a few loyal ships are still active." "The flagship is the key," Taewong's voice came over the comms. "Xylos is still refusing." "Then we take him out," Junho said. "Agreed," Taewong replied, firing the main lance. On the Harbinger, the massive weapon began to glow. A low hum vibrated through the hull of the ship, shaking the very metal. A lens at the front of the ship opened, revealing a swirling vortex of energy. "Target locked on the Vexian flagship's command section," Gen announced. "Firing." A beam of white light, brighter than 1,000 suns, shot out from the Harbinger. It was silent and instant. It traveled across the distance between the fleets in a fraction of a second. The beam hit the Vexian flagship. There was no explosion. There was no fire. The beam simply cut the ship in half. The upper half of the ship, where the bridge was, floated away from the lower half. The cut was smooth and cauterized. The bridge crew, including Xylos, was instantly exposed to the vacuum of space. The lights went out instantly. The rest of the Vexian ships watched this happen. They saw the most powerful ship in their fleet cut like a piece of fruit. The last of their resistance evaporated. "Sir," Sui said softly on the Valiant. "All remaining enemy ships are powering down. The entire Vexian coalition force has surrendered." Junho let out a long breath. He felt a weight lift off his shoulders. He looked around his bridge. His crew was smiling. Some were crying. They had done it. They had defeated an alien empire that had tried to enslave them. "Good work, everyone," Junho said. "Tell the reserve fleet to secure the prisoners. Send boarding parties. Treat them well, but keep them restrained." "Yes, sir," the crew replied in unison. Junho opened a channel to Admiral Jinho. "Admiral, it is done. The enemy has surrendered." "Excellent work, Commander," Jinho said. "You have made humanity proud today." "Thank you, Admiral," Junho said. "What now?" Now Jinho asked. "Now we send a message to the rest of the galaxy. We show them what happens when you betray Earth." Taewong looked out the window of the Harbinger. The debris of the Vexian flagship was floating in the distance. It was a grim sight. But it was a necessary sight. "The galaxy will never look at us the same way again," Taewong said to himself. "They thought we were weak. They thought we were prey. Today, they learned we are the apex predator. The silence of space returned. But it was no longer a heavy, threatening silence. It was the silence of victory. The human fleet floated among the crippled alien ships, dark and dangerous, watching over their prisoners. The betrayal had been answered. And the answer was absolute. The dust from the battle was still settling, floating in the cold darkness of the solar system. The silence that returned was not peaceful, but heavy. It was the silence of a shaken enemy. Commander Taewong Lee stood on the bridge of the UES Harbinger, looking at the tactical map. The red dots that represented the Vexian fleet were now all dark blue. They were prisoners. "It is strange," Lieutenant Jeon said, breaking the quiet. "They are not fighting anymore. They are just sitting there." Taewong nodded slowly. "Fear does that to a species. They relied on their strength and their technology. When those things failed, they had nothing left to believe in. They are waiting for us to tell them what happens next." On the screens, small human shuttles were leaving the bigger ships. These were boarding parties. They moved toward the crippled Vexian vessels like flies landing on a wounded animal. The Vexians did not fire. They did not try to stop the humans. They opened their airlocks and let the boarding teams in. Admiral Jin Ho Choi watched the live video feeds from his office on Earth. He saw the human soldiers walking through the halls of the alien ships. The Vexian crew sat on the floor, their heads in their hands. They looked terrified. The aliens, who had once looked down on humans with disgust, were now looking at human boots with fear. "Sir," an aide said to Jin Ho, "we have captured High Consul Xylos. He survived the destruction of the bridge, but he is in custody. He is demanding to speak to the leader of Earth." Jin Ho smiled a thin, cold smile. "Does he think he is in a position to demand anything?" "No, sir. But he says he has rights under the Galactic Treaty." Jin Ho laughed softly. "That treaty is dead. He burned it when he tried to disarm us. Put him in a cell. I will speak to him later." Jin Ho turned his attention to the bigger picture. The Vexians here were defeated, but the Vexian homeworld was far away. The rest of the coalition was out there, watching. They did not know what had happened yet. They did not know that the humans had a secret fleet. "Analyst," Jin Ho called out. "What is the status of the Vexian communication network?" "We have control of it, sir," the analyst replied. "We used their own satellites to send the virus. We can send a message to the entire coalition if we want." "Good," Jin Ho said. "Prepare a transmission. I want to send it to every capital in the galaxy. But first, I want to make sure the Vexians here understand their mistake." He switched the view to the internal cameras of the Vexian flagship. The human soldiers were leading the crew away. They were not being cruel. They did not beat the prisoners. They were just efficient. They treated the aliens like dangerous objects that needed to be stored away. This cold professionalism was scarier than anger. On the UES Valiant, Commander Jun Ho Park sat in his chair, feeling the exhaustion of the day. His adrenaline was fading, leaving him tired but satisfied. He looked at Sue. "Status of the repairs?" he asked. "The minor hits we took are being fixed," she reported. "But the ship is fine. The reserve fleet, they didn't even get scratched. The Vexians never had a chance." Jun Ho looked out the window at the massive, black hull of the Harbinger. It was a monster of a ship. For years, humanity had pretended to be weak. They had allowed the Vexians to believe they were the superior power. It had all been an act. A giant, dangerous lie. Taewong played his part well, Junho said over the secure channel. The hidden fleet is impressive. It is not just the fleet, Taewong replied. It is the message. Look at them, Junho. The Vexians are confused. They are trying to understand how we built these ships. They are scanning the Harbinger and finding technology they have never seen. What are they finding? Junho asked. They are finding that we didn't use their blueprints, Taewong said. We built these ships using our own methods. Human engineering. Dirty, loud, and effective. They thought they were teaching us how to build, but really, we were just learning what not to do. Suddenly, an alarm beeped on the bridge of the Valiant. Sir, Sue said, her voice tense. I am picking up a signal. It is coming from deep space. It is not Vexian. Junho sat up straight. Who is it? It is the Galactic Council, Sue said. They are hailing the Vexian flagship. They are asking what is happening. They want to know why the Vexian fleet has gone silent. Junho looked at Admiral Jinho on the screen. It seems the audience is listening, Admiral. So they are, Jinho said. This is the moment we have been waiting for. Patch them through to me. I will speak to the council, not as a subordinate, but as an equal. The screen in front of Junho changed. The face of an alien counselor appeared. This alien was not a Vexian. It was a member of the Eldari, a species that claimed to be very old and very wise. The Eldari looked annoyed. This is Counselor Voran, the alien said. We have lost contact with High Consul Xylos. Our sensors show massive energy signatures in your system. Human, what is going on there? Where is the Vexian fleet? Jinho's face appeared on the screen. He looked calm and collected. Counselor Voran. The Vexian fleet is right here. It belongs to us now. Voran blinked. What do you mean, belongs to you? Where is Xylos? Xylos is in our brig, Jinho said. He attempted to betray Earth. He tried to force humanity into disarmament. He thought we were weak. He was wrong. Voran looked confused. Betrayal, that is a strong word. The coalition was merely reorganizing the defense structure. Humanity is too volatile to be trusted with heavy weapons. We made a command decision. You made a mistake, Jinho said, his voice hardening. And now you are going to listen to me. You are in no position to make demands, Voran scoffed. You are a primitive species. We have thousands of fleets across the galaxy. If you have harmed the Vexians, we will. You will do nothing, Jinho interrupted him. Look at your sensors, Counselor. Tell me what you see. There was a pause as Voran presumably looked at his data. His eyes widened slightly. I see massive signatures, Voran stammered. Ships. Huge ships. Where did they come from? They are not in your database. They are the Human Defense Force, Jinho said. The ships you see today are only a fraction of what we have. For 3 years, while we fought your war, we were building this. We dug into the asteroid belt. We hollowed out Mars. We built a fleet that you cannot see, cannot track, and cannot defeat. Jinho leaned closer to the camera. You thought we were building museums and frigates. We were building graveyards. The Vexians attacked us today with the intent to enslave us. Now, their entire armada is floating wreckage outside my window. Voran's face paled. This changes the balance of power. It changes everything, Jinho corrected him. Here is my message to the Galactic Council. Do not come to Earth. Do not send your inspectors. Do not send your threats. We are withdrawing from the treaty immediately. Consider the Sol system a restricted zone. Any ship that enters without permission will share the fate of the Vexian fleet. You cannot isolate yourself, Voran argued. The galaxy is interconnected. We are not isolating ourselves, Jinho said. We are drawing a line. Cross it, and you will burn. Jinho ended the transmission. The screen went black. On the bridge of the Harbinger, Taewong let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. He did it, he said to Ji-Ian. He told them off. They must be terrified, Ji-Ian replied. The council relies on everyone following the rules. They never expected the humans to break the table. Commander Junho watched the debris field. The broken pieces of the Vexian flagship were glittering in the sunlight. It was a beautiful, tragic sight. We have changed today, Junho said softly. Humanity went to sleep as a victim and woke up as a conqueror. We did what we had to do, Sui said. They gave us no choice. No, Junho agreed. They didn't. But now we have to decide what kind of conquerors we will be. We are not like them. We are better. Admiral Jinho watched the silent stars. He felt the weight of the future on his shoulders. The galaxy was a dangerous place, but humanity was no longer the prey. They were the wolves in sheep's clothing, and now the sheep's skin was off. Secure the prisoners, Jinho ordered. Repair the fleet. And get the defense platforms online. We have a new solar system to run. The Vexian forces had not just fallen apart, they had been erased as a threat. The betrayal had backfired completely. The aliens had feared human strength, but they should have feared human patience. Humans had waited, planned, and struck with a precision that the galaxy would never forget. The war was over, but the age of human power had just begun. The debris from the battle drifted slowly in the cold vacuum of space, sparkling like dim diamonds against the black background. But no one on the human ships was looking at the view anymore. The adrenaline of the fight was gone, replaced by a grim determination. The Vexian coalition fleet, once a symbol of alien power, was now a broken collection of floating hulks. Commander Junho Park stood on the bridge of the UES Valiant. He looked tired, but his back was straight. He watched the tactical screen where hundreds of small green dots represented human boarding shuttles. They were attaching themselves to the hulls of the captured Vexian ships like metal ticks. Report, Junho said quietly. The boarding is complete on 90% of the ships, Lieutenant Sue Kim replied. Her voice was steady now. The fear was gone. The Vexian crews are surrendering without a fight. They are confused, sir. They keep asking where these ships came from. Junho looked at the image of the UES Harbinger on the screen. That massive, dark ship was the heart of the secret fleet. It floated among the alien vessels like a shark among tuna. Let them wonder, Junho said. Confusion is a good weapon. It keeps them from planning. On the bridge of the UES Harbinger, Commander Taewong Lee was finishing his own work. He sat in his chair, watching the final phase of the operation. The Vexians were prisoners, but the humans were not there to torture them. They were there to dismantle the enemy's ability to ever threaten Earth again. Lieutenant Ji-Ian, Taewong called out. Status of the Vexian data cores. We have successfully hacked their mainframes, Ji-Ian responded. We are downloading everything. Their star charts, their weapon schematics, their communication codes. We have it all. Good, Taewong said. That information is worth more than the ships themselves. Now that we have their codes, we can listen to their secrets. We will know what they say about us when they think we aren't listening. He opened a channel to Junho. Commander Park, the situation is stable. The prisoners are secure. What is the order from Admiral Choi? Junho's voice came through the speaker, clear and strong. Admiral Choi has just finished speaking with the Galactic Council. He sent a message to the entire galaxy. He told them that the Sol system is closed. He told them that humanity is withdrawing from the treaty. Taewong smiled slightly. That must have shocked them. It did, Junho said. But we cannot stop there. We need to make sure the Vexians understand exactly what has happened. Send a message to the interim commander of the Vexian forces. Bring him to the Valiant. Understood, Taewong said. An hour later, a shuttle docked with the UES Valiant. Inside was a Vexian officer named Krill. He was the tactical officer who had served under Xylos. He looked small and scared as he walked onto the human bridge. The air pressure and gravity were slightly different for him, making him stumble. 2 human guards escorted him to the center of the room. Krill looked around with wide eyes. He had always believed human technology was primitive, but looking at the consoles of the Valiant, he saw systems he couldn't understand. The engineering was clean, efficient, and advanced. I am Commander Junho Park, Junho said. He did not stand up. He stayed in his chair, looking down at the alien. I am Krill, the alien stammered. Where is High Consul Xylos? Xylos is in a prison cell, Junho said. He will stay there for a long time. You are the senior officer now, Krill. That means you speak for the survivors. Krill nodded nervously. What will you do to us? Will you kill us all? Junho shook his head. No. We are not monsters like you believed. We are not going to kill prisoners. But we are not going to let you go, either. Your ships are now property of the United Earth Defense Force. Your crews will be taken to Earth. You will work to help us understand your technology. After the war, maybe we will let you go. Maybe not. Krill looked shocked. But, that is slavery. You cannot do that. We can do whatever we want, Junho said coldly. You came here to enslave humanity. You tried to take our freedom because you thought we were dangerous. You were right. We are dangerous. But we are dangerous to our enemies, not to our friends. You chose to be our enemy. He leaned forward. You have a choice, Krill. You can cooperate, and your people will be treated fairly. Or you can resist, and you will sit in a cell and rot. Choose wisely. Krill looked at the floor. His pride was gone. The reality of the situation was crushing him. The humans had won completely. There was no hope of rescue. We will cooperate, Krill whispered. Good, Junho said. Take him away. As the guards led Krill away, Junho opened a channel to the entire fleet. His voice was heard on every human ship, from the smallest fighter to the massive Harbinger. Crew of the Earth Defense Force, Junho said. Today, we changed history. The galaxy looked down on us. They called us weak. They called us primitive. Today, we proved them wrong. We showed them that we do not need their permission to survive. We showed them that betrayal has a price. He paused. The war is over, but our work has just begun. We have a new fleet. We have new technology. And we have a new future. A future where humanity stands tall, not as a follower, but as a leader. On Earth, millions of people watched the broadcast on their screens. In the streets of New York, London, Seoul, and Tokyo, people cheered. They had been afraid of the aliens for so long. They had felt small. But now, they saw the massive human ships on the news. They saw the captured alien fleet. They felt proud. Admiral Jin Ho Choi sat in his office, watching the celebrations. He felt a deep sense of relief. For years, he had carried the burden of the secret. He had to lie to the public, lie to the allies, and lie to the friends, all to build this shield. Now, the shield was drawn, and it was unbreakable. "Sir," his aide said, "the Vexian homeworld has sent a message. They are begging for peace. They say they will pay anything to get their fleet back." Jinho laughed. "They are not getting their fleet back. Tell them that if they want peace, they will recognize the Sol system as an independent power. And tell them that if they ever send another fleet here, we will not take prisoners." "Yes, sir," the aide said. Commander Taewong Lee stood on the bridge of the Harbinger, looking out at the stars. The Harbinger began to move slowly, taking up a position near Mars. It was the guardian of the system now. "Lieutenant Ji Ian," Taewong said. "Set course for patrol pattern Alpha. We stay here. We watch." "Aye, sir," she replied. "It is quiet now." "Yes," Taewong said. "But the galaxy is watching. They are afraid of us. And that is good. It is better to be feared than underestimated." The human fleet formed a perimeter around the solar system. The massive, dark ships with their orange stripes stood as silent sentinels. The alien forces had fallen apart before them, shattered by a power they never knew existed. Humanity's reply to betrayal was final. It was loud, and it was violent. But now, the shouting was over. The humans were standing their ground, united and strong. The age of bowing to aliens was over. The age of human dominance had begun. As the stars shone down on the fleet, Junho Park took one last look at the view screen. He thought about the future. It would be hard. There would be more enemies. There would be politics and diplomacy. But for now, there was peace. And that peace was bought with the strength of the massive, dangerous fleet that floated in the dark, protecting their home. "Engage long-range sensors," Junho ordered. "Let's see what the rest of the galaxy is doing." The humans were awake. They were armed. And they were ready for anything. The betrayal was answered, and the score was settled.